NBA Today coming to you live from Oklahoma City, and we will be here for just a couple more hours before we head off to Indianapolis for Game 6. That is on Thursday, but we start our show with the biggest storyline heading into that Game 6, and that is the health of Tyrese Haliburton. With just under 7 minutes left in the first quarter of last night's game, as you can see here, he appeared to tweak the right leg injury that's been bothering him since Game 2. Now, Tyrese did play 34 minutes, but he was clearly limited in this game. As we say hello to our senior insider, Shams Charania. Shams, with the Pacers now facing elimination here, what can you tell us about the status of Tyrese Haliburton?
Malika, the belief is that Tyrese Haliburton has strained his right calf, and I'm told he will undergo an MRI to determine the exact severity of this strain. And remember, this is the same leg that he had ankle soreness in last week. He was adamant after Game 5 that he would be playing in Thursday's Game 6 of the NBA Finals. It is the NBA Finals, but it was described to me today that if this were the regular season or even the first round, there's doubt that he would play. So once the Pacers and Haliburton get the results back on this MRI on that calf strain, they're going to be able to identify the severity and then huddle and map out exactly what the plan will be going into Game 6.
Okay, Shams, we will stay tuned certainly for an update on just how severe that calf strain is, but it is a right calf strain here for Tyrese Haliburton. Shams, thank you so much for that insight and information as we welcome you back to set here. Brian Windhorst, Shanae Agumake, Kendrick Perkins. I'm going to start with you here, Brian. A calf strain, that's not really what you want to hear.
Right, so one, it sort of frames the explanation of why he struggled so much last night, because this is obviously an injury that significantly impacts your ability to push off on it. And we saw he basically stopped going inside the paint. Secondly, while this is an elimination game in the finals, it's a game that you've waited your whole life to play. You've got to be extremely careful with this type of injury. And, you know, don't jump ahead of the situation. You see what the MRI shows. You hear what the doctors say. But this is a big, big moment for the Pacers in their hopes of making a comeback here.
And I know, man, like, you don't never know when you're going to get back to the finals. Like, every player, you know, you don't want to take this moment for granted, but I'm going to give them some advice early. If they saying it's a calf strain, sit out. Same advice I gave to Kevin Durant my first year working at ESPN and covering the finals. You remember that, Wendy?
I do, very clearly.
Bob Myers was the GM.
Sadly.
Bob was actually mad at me for that because I told him, forget what the franchise is telling you, sit out. And then what happened a few games later when Kevin Durant came back?
You were saying it that day.
That day, he tore his Achilles, and that's how severe it is. So, you know, I would rather him, you know, his health is more important, but you can't go out there in the NBA Finals against this Oklahoma City Thunder team and if you're not 100% or even close to 100% because them killers are waiting. And they're moving up and down fast pace. If I'm Tyrese Haliburton and the Pacers, I sit them out and I just rock with my guys in the belief so that way they can already have their mind made up.
Yeah, and if that is the decision that is to be made when it comes to Game 6, there's no shame in that. He's already proven so much throughout the course of this playoffs. 4 game-tying or go-ahead type of buckets that really created a legendary postseason run. He has put in the work, and it has shown on the biggest of stages. No longer overrated. Now he can say he's made it to the NBA Finals. He's done his job. But I do believe, and we saw this yesterday, it's not just the physical of a calf strain, it's also the mental, knowing that it could become into something worse, you know, that you absolutely hope you avoid. So overall, I'm like, you know what? Do what's best for you in this situation.
Right now, we don't know the severity, as Shams just reported, of this calf strain. And Kevin Durant was dealing with something obviously very severe, so we don't know necessarily if it's an apples-to-apples comparison here. But Tyrese Haliburton said after the game, again, without any imaging or that sort of insight, he said, if I can walk, I can play, Brian.
Yeah, and look, I think this is a situation where it may come down not only to what the doctors say, but how he feels on Thursday night.
Yeah.
You know, does he feel like he can go out there and be, a weapon? Last night, he really was a ball mover and a floor spacer. He wasn't much of a weapon in this game. And I know that there was a lot of conjecture afterwards about whether he should have finished this game or whether it should have been T.J. McConnell, who was having a spectacular game. They're going to go with their star. They're going to go with what he wants. And I don't think they probably regretted even having this information today.
And I think even having this information is better for them because now Rick Carlisle can game plan knowing he's not 100% if he's out there. And you can also give him a run and realize, okay, maybe he's not there. We can go back to our system. Because for most of the game, he had 0 field goals, 3 quarters, 0 field goals, and they were still able to cut that to a 2-point lead. So there's still hope and optimism on the Pacers still being able to compete.
And like last night, he said after the game, I'm playing in Game 6, but we saw him leaving the podium. He was limping, right?
Yeah.
Like, it brought me back to when I tore my ACL in the 2010 finals, right? Like, I was begging behind the scenes to try to play on the tour in ACL, real talk, because I wanted to be in that moment. And I'm not lying. Like, I was asking the doctor, like, you sure it's not a knee brace?
Right.
Like, the swelling, it feels great. Like, that's just the competitive nature. Like, you just want to be in that moment, especially in the NBA Finals.
And again, I want to be careful that we don't make a jump to something that hasn't happened yet without knowing the severity of exactly what Tyrese Haliburton is dealing with. I really appreciate your insight. You know this game and this stage better than anyone of us sitting up here. Chane, you dealt with a fair amount of injuries in your career. What do the next 2 days look like for Tyrese Haliburton?
Rest, recovery, and just testing things out, because you still want to be engaged. When you're playing at this level, you're still wanting to make sure that you're on sync. Like, people come in, they get shots. Like, they just want to keep the rhythm together. But again, I believe if he does choose to play, you'll see in the first few moments whether he's got it or he's not.
Right.
But at least they have a game plan knowing those are the 2 options.
It's just hard because, I mean, we're just waiting to see how severe it is.
Yeah.
But it is a calf strain, right? And those soft tissue injuries don't just heal up like in the next 48 hours.
Right.
There's no Toradol shot you can get in your backside that's going to relieve that pain when it comes down to those type of injuries. So, again, do I want to see him on the floor? Yes, but I want to see him on the floor where he's actually able to produce, right? And if he can't go out there and be the best version of him, especially against this young Oklahoma City Thunder team, then you got to go with have faith in and saying next man up.
Right, and we've seen it a couple of times in this postseason, unfortunately. I think back to Steph Curry. I think to Aaron Gordon, who did play on a calf strain that he's been dealing with intermittently. Ja Morant as well. So we will continue to update you as we know more about this situation surrounding Tyrese Haliburton. We're still in the midst of the NBA Finals, so let's get back to it here because we are live at the Paycom Center where the Thunder, they can feel it. They're now just 1 win away from winning their first title here in Oklahoma, and it was a really special night for J-Dub. He dropped 40, all flats, right, Perk?
Yeah.
So let's take a look back at the last 3 players who dropped 40-plus in a finals win. Starting with Giannis. He scored 50 in Game 6 to clinch the 2021 finals. That's also tied for the most points in a finals clincher in NBA history. And then the next year, the Warriors faced a 2-1 deficit, and that's when Steph Curry, he went off 43.7 threes to tie the series up. The 7 threes are tied for the 3rd most in a finals game, and Golden State went on to win that series. It actually reminds me in some ways of this one. And then last night, J-Dub, he scored a playoff career high 40 points to lead the Thunder to a pivotal Game 5 win. He did it in just 35 minutes. That's the fewest in a finals 40-point game since minutes were tracked. Some would say he's standing on something.
This my camera.
That's going to be your camera.
Standing on business. You better stand on business. Stand on business. Hell yeah, we standing on business today. Standing on business. He did just that. That boy stood on business last night. He been standing on business all series long, especially the last 3 games, and I'm talking about J-Dub. That gave me Scottie Pippen vibes, 1991 vibes. You talking about Game 5, NBA Finals, biggest stage, and you go out there, you hang a 40-piece, right? I already think Scottie Pippen is the best Robin of all time. This was one of those games right here where your Robin showed up. And look at Scottie back in the day. You see him? Scottie Pippen back in the day. Look up, Malika, because you was young. I don't even think you remember this moment. Rock the cradle right here. But when you think about Robins and you think about what SGA needed, we asked all year long who was going to be that bona fide number 2, rise to the occasion. Was it going to be J-Dub? Was it going to be SGA? He has finally came up and stepped up to the plate. That guy's a certified number 2 option, 1B on this team.
Tim, you've been covering this team all year long, and you were hearing and sometimes asking the questions to J-Dub about, can you do it? Can you do it consistently? Can you be that guy? What did he show you last night?
I mean, it was a statement performance. It's been a statement postseason run ever since he went through the worst 3-game shooting funk of his career in that Denver series. You remember 10
Gotta have that funk.
over 3 games. Big time Game 7. Hey, they got blown out in Minnesota last in Game 3. How's he respond? A then playoff career high 34. Last night, I got to have it. Pivotal game high 40. And the thing about J-Dub is the Pippen comparison isn't just that he can be that 1B. It's that he does everything. He can facilitate. He can guard 1 through 5. The man started at center in some games this year. I mean, rebounding, slashing, whatever they need for this guy to help them win, J-Dub can do it.
He has a storybook run from his days in Santa Clara. This is a 3-star. This wasn't Perk coming out of high school. No D1 offers. It was Iona and Santa Clara, and he ended up going to Santa Clara. And it took 3 years for him to be a true NBA prospect. He was 52nd going into his junior year, and then boom, now he's in a lottery pick. I remember going to see him play his freshman year. I wasn't thinking anything NBA about this kid.
Yeah.
But for him to be doing what he's doing, it's an incredible motivational story for a lot of mid-major kids out there.
I had a chance to sit down with him before Game 5, and I asked him, what is the one thing that nobody sees but that you still wear that influences the way that you play? And he told me losing last year. He told me that he couldn't fully describe the feeling of having everybody expect them to do it, to get there, and to let himself down and other people down. And he has been wearing and thinking of that feeling ever since he wasn't able to complete the mission. And that has driven so much of his work this year to say, you know what, everyone believed in me and I let myself down. Now I'm going to go out and show you what I've always known that I'm capable of.